I'm going to be showing you how to make a gluten-free, lactose-free brownie. So these are the main ingredients. We have 200 grams of buckwheat flour. It's already been put in a bowl. And 400 grams of dates. Two very ripe bananas. That's about 200 grams bananas. I'm adding a little bit of cane sugar just to sweeten up the dates and the bananas. So that's about 30 grams of sugar. And instead of butter, we're going to use avocado, because avocado is rich in fatty acids and it helps create a creamy texture. So we have one avocado, which is it's a big avocado, so it's 175 grams. And of course, the most important ingredient for brownie is cacao powder. So we have 65 grams of raw cacao powder, unsweetened. And the final ingredient is, it's a combination of 2 teaspoons of cinnamon, 1 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 teaspoon of baking powder to let it rise a little bit. And finally, to get the right consistency, we'll of course add some water. So now we're going to mix the ingredients. Start with the wet ingredients. First, we need to get the dates in the right consistency. And together with some water, we're going to blend the dates into a paste consistency. And then we also use about 50 grams of coconut oil, just to give it a bit more creamy texture as well with the avocado. So we're going to add the dates into a big bowl. And now we're going to blend the avocado together with the banana. If I had a bigger blender, I would have done it all together. So doing avocado, the dates, and the bananas could also be blended together. So I already added 200 ml of water to the dates. I'm going to add another 50 ml of water to blend the avocado and banana together. So that's in total about 250 ml of water. So now we're going to add the blended avocado and banana into the dates. So just mix that all up. It's actually a pretty easy recipe once you blend all the wet ingredients. Then you can add the dry ingredients. That's the wet ingredients, and then we're going to also add coconut oil. So that's about 50 grams of melted coconut oil. So mix it all up. It's all mixed properly now. And now we move on to the dry ingredients. So I'm just going to mix the dry ingredients first in a separate bowl before I add it to the wet. So there we have the buckwheat flour. It's about 200 grams of buckwheat. Buckwheat is, at least this buckwheat that I bought is completely gluten-free, it says. So make sure that it's also guaranteed gluten-free. And I'll add the cinnamon, the baking powder, and the baking soda. And I'm just gonna give that a little mix. And I will also add a pinch of salt, because a pinch of salt tends to just increase the sweetness of the sugar, accentuates it. And then, as you can see, as compared to a normal brownie, we're adding very little sugar, and it's cane sugar, so it's 30 grams of cane sugar. And finally, we add about 65 grams of raw cocoa powder. So unlike a normal brownie, or traditional brownie recipe, we're not adding any egg, there's no milk, and we're using a completely gluten-free buckwheat flour. So that's all mixed up. And now we'll add the dry ingredients to the wet. Avocado, banana, and dates. Delicious. So mix up all the dry ingredients into the wet. And just keep mixing till you get a finer consistency. So there we have a nice consistency. It's all mixed up. And we can now transfer it into the baking tray. Let it sit in the oven for about 35 to 40 minutes. So I've already put some baking paper on the baking tray. You don't necessarily need to oil it with the baking paper. This paste can be eaten raw. We're going to put this now in the oven for 35 to 40 minutes at 180 degrees Celsius. So that's approximately 35 minutes later. We're going to bring the brownie out of the oven. It's ready. It's looking very delicious. We're just going to let it cool off, ideally. High in fiber, gluten-free, lactose-free brownie.